Okay, you are listening to the award-winning Philadelphia Hall Monitor here on WPPM 106.5 in Philadelphia, on Comcast Channel 66, and streaming live at phillycam.org. You can find us on Twitter at Hall Monitor WPPM, on our website, www.hallmonitor.org, or on Facebook at PHM WPPM. Tonight on the program, we'll be joined by Rosario Torres of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission, and our own Lance Haber will provide an update on the impending water rate hikes. So, without any further ado, here is Vanessa Maria Graber and Denise Clay-Murray speaking to Rosario Torres of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission.
Hello, and welcome back to the Philadelphia Hall Monitor. I'm joined by my colleague, Denise Clay-Murray, and we're here today with our special guest, Rosario Torres Thomas. Rosario, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I am so honored. It is an honor to talk with you and with Denise. Thank you.
Well, for folks who don't know, Rosaura is from Philly and she has been doing activism. She is also an author. She published a book recently and very visible in the community. And most recently, she's been serving on the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. Rosaura, tell us a little bit about the commission and how you got involved in it.
Well, we shorten it to CPOC, but Citizen Police Oversight Commission was created by our Councilman Jones, and now our Judge, Samantha Williams, because of what happened to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tyreek Nichols, Walter Wallace, Freddie Gray, and others, and also our last young man that was killed, Eddie Irizarry. One of the things that we were created to do, to work with the citizens and the communities to be able to work with the police department. So we were given more teeth, but it has been a struggle. I have to admit that it has been a struggle. And you asked, why did I testify? I gave my testimony. I don't know if I went too far.
Oh, well, tell us first, like, how did you get involved in the commission?
Okay.
How did you get, decide that you wanted to be a commissioner and have a seat on this entity?
I have sons and grandchildren. And my son Moses, who I lost 2 years ago, was always racially profiled because of the way he looked. Moses, he looked like an Egyptian, beautiful young man. And a cousin reached out to me and felt that I should apply to be appointed as one of the commissioners. And I made it very clear, I don't know if they're going to want me. I have too much mouth. I won't keep silent. If I see something that's not right or hear something, I'm going to speak on it. He goes, sure, you should apply. I did. And I'm honored. To me, it was not to glorify myself or to fatten up my resume, because I'm almost 65 years old. And after this, I'm just going to sit quietly and watch my grandchildren grow. But when I was appointed, to me, it was an exciting day, because I would say, and I would speak out to the universe, Moses, I'm going to do everything I can to help young men and women like you who have not been treated fairly by the police department. My son Moses' father is a retired chief inspector for the police department, my ex-husband. But it was not, and I made it very clear to many police officers and to upper staff that we are not here to beat up on the police department, but how we can work with the police department and to work with our citizens. But I didn't feel that it happened. I didn't feel in the 2 years that I've been commissioner that I was able to accomplish anything.
So on the website, people can find out more about the commission on the City of Philadelphia webpage. But it says that the Oversight Commission oversees and investigates the conduct, policies, and practices of the Philadelphia Police Department, They work to increase transparency and accountability of the PPD, improve police conduct, enhance the quality of internal investigations, and improve the relationship between the community and the police department. Um, Obviously, that's a tall order to fill in just a couple of years. But last summer, we saw the police officer involved shooting death of Eddie Irizarry by police officer Mark Dial. And that caused a lot of concern in the community, especially after video footage was released showing that the police had basically fabricated a story to make it seem like the shooting was justified. How did that impact the commission? And also, how did you feel about that, being as though that you said, you have roots in this neighborhood,
Yeah.
and that it involved, the Puerto Rican community?
I don't want to get emotional because when it first happened, there was a press release from CPOC, not the commissioners, but when I saw the report, the press release, I made it very clear that I could not agree with this press release because I know there was more to meets the eye. And when our investigator went to the scene and saw the body cam of the police officer, we knew right then and there that nothing was forthcoming. And it wasn't forthcoming. There were things that should not have happened. That press release, they had to redact it and bring it back and put out another press release. But I knew in my heart, not seeing the video, once I saw the video, they treated him like he was an animal. And it was heartbreaking. And it was heartbreaking, not only for the Latino community where I grew up at, but for all the community in the city of Philadelphia. So it left a bad taste in my mouth because that could have been my Moses or my George or my Sincere or my little Liddell or my husband. It could have been any of us. So I've been very outspoken, maybe too much to some people, but that's who I am.
Well, speaking of which, you decided to attend a rally that was organized by a coalition of community-based organizations and community members in North Philly who wanted to show support for the family because the family was demanding that the district attorney press charges and release the body camera footage. Why did you decide to attend that rally?
As the only commissioner that attended the rally, and it was just myself, I made it very clear to I was interviewed by the Inquirer that before I became commissioner, I am a daughter of Latino descent. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. And I am there for the citizens and for the family of Eddie Irizarry. It was not taking sides, but I was there in support of them. I was there to support them, to support my community, to support the organizations that organized this. So I was there to support them. And anybody else that needed my support, I was there. So I got kind of reprimanded for attending the rally.
But certainly at the rally, it gave you an opportunity to hear directly from community members about their concerns.
Yes. And Vanessa, my Latino brothers and sisters feel that we are not of value, that we do not count, that you do not hear us. Even with CPOC, when I say you have to make sure that the organizations within a Latino community are a part of CPOC meetings, CPOC town hall meetings, CPOC events, make them feel that they're of value, that they count. Bring them along, invite them, invite Congreso, invite Espira, invite Esperanza, invite Nos Propra, invite them so they can feel that, yes, the Latino community always will also be a part of this. But that has not happened. I am just one commissioner. So I have voiced my feelings of making them a part of these events, but it has not happened.
Well,
I have a question, and my question is, are you the lone Latino commissioner on the board? And how is what you're saying been received by your fellow commissioners? Because I know some of the other commissioners on the board, and I'm kind of surprised that none of them took that into consideration at the very beginning.
Right now, I am the lone Latina commissioner on CPOC. As I said, I might at times speak out too much, and it might bother some people, but that's who I am. Women of color are strong, and I learned that from my mother. We stand strong. So as a Latina woman, and we have one staff member, Ms. Hernandez, and when we attended the last meeting with our new executive director, McClary, I asked her, did you invite the Latino community? And no, but she is not the top organizer with that. There are other staff members that organize that. And I really don't feel that I have a voice in it, but I speak on it anyway. I do. I speak on it.
Well, to the commission's credit, they did hold a community meeting in Kensington.
Yes, I was there.
At Esperanza in May. And there's a report back available on the website for people who are curious. And I read through it and some of the concerns that are on there. And I guess it's like, what's the follow-up then? Because there was a lot of concerns from that community. And there, to my knowledge, there are meetings every month or every other month that the community members can attend.
We have a meeting every month, twice a month. We have a meeting twice a month. So
people can attend and talk
about.
Well,
for the past 2 years, our meetings have been held on Zoom. They have not been held in person. And that was one of the questions that I kept asking. When are we going to sit with the citizens, with La Comunidad, and ask them questions, or let them ask us questions of what we are doing? Because no, we do not. We do investigations, and we only do shooting investigation, but because of the policies and the procedures, we're not allowed to investigate the police officers. So really, as politely as I can put it, and they have shared that there is truly no investigation for other cases when it involves other citizens. And I have experienced some unhappiness in regards to other citizens, but this is what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to sit with the community, let them ask us questions. How can we help them? But I don't feel that we have accomplished anything yet. I really don't feel that.
So another question I have is, when you hear about the commission, you don't necessarily hear about why they exist or what they're doing. You hear a lot about some of the internal politics that are going on. You hear about, like there was an Asian gentleman that didn't even make it onto the commission because of some politicking that went on there. And you hear about all of that, but when the citizens voted for the commission to be put together, that's not what they voted for. Are you kind of disappointed that there seems to be, that there doesn't seem to be a lot to point to in terms of actual work from the commission, in terms of, making sure that the police are accountable to the citizens, and what can be done about that?
I agree. I agree with you with everything you said because I felt lost. I felt, well, what are we supposed to do? We're the commissioners. People will ask, you're the commissioners, you're the ones that are supposed to do something. And I'm like, I agree. But when you have that resistance from staff, and I have to say staff, I won't mention names, but from staff, it's a tug of war. We are supposed to sit with the citizens. They have to feel that they count. And if they don't feel that we're doing anything for them, they have every right to be upset. I don't like the politics part of it because we are for the people to work with the police department. And I know I'm being redundant, but I don't feel that it has happened. I feel that it's like, it's a mess. We have a new executive director and she comes from Dallas and her family comes from the Baltimore area. And I think she's awesome. So she's got her hands full, but I'm ready to work. I'm ready to sit down and have, and I always say, a powwow with the citizens, what we can do for them to try to work with the police department. But when you have that resistance from staff, it will always be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, even in combing through the website, there's a lot of reports, that document certain things. There's a bunch of press releases, but it's hard to measure the impact that the commission has had on building trust with the community because, the community has lost a lot of trust in police. And, especially after the recent cleanup in Kensington, I went around talking to residents, I covered that. And people were very discouraged. They were promised that certain things would happen. The police did not do what they said what they do, which is, allow the outreach workers to do their job. And now we have another a police involved shooting, where this time where a police officer was shot, which again, we're still learning the details of that. Is the resistance also coming from the Philadelphia Police Department? Or is it you're not even getting that far?
No, it hasn't gotten that far, and I have never been disrespected by any police officer because they know that I'm commissioner or the upper deputy commissioners or the commissioner. I have been disrespected by staff. And when you say the community has lost faith, I understand why. I would lose faith also. What are we doing? We are supposed to do the right thing for them. If we could accomplish what we were sworn to do, believe me, Vanessa, I believe better things can happen. I don't want to lose my faith. I want to believe that we can accomplish anything. We have a new chair, Chair Bennett, and I want to work with him. But if I'm going to continue to get that resistance and the staff and I don't see eye to eye, but I'm not there for the staff. I'm there for the citizens to try to, and I know I'm saying it again, to try to work with the police department. Yeah.
So I want to talk about the recent public safety hearing in which a law was being proposed by the Public Safety Committee that would give more power to the commission itself to be able to vote off members. When the commission was created, that power rested solely with city council. And they were requesting to change that to make it easier to remove people. Can you tell us why you decided to testify at that hearing at City Hall that day?
I knew that this bill was brought up was to remove me. So in honesty, I seen, I witnessed, and I have experienced things I wish I did not witness or seen. And I knew that I had to speak up for me because they were not speaking up for me. They were going to try to remove me because of the things that I did see. You do not, as a survivor of domestic violence, we do not blame, shame, or guilt a victim. We support them. We listen to them. But that's not what I saw. I saw damaging emails, I have to say it, that attack citizens, and it angered me because that was a blame, shame, and guilt, and we don't do that. Excuse me, we do not do that. As a survivor, I do not do that, but that's what I witnessed. So I had to speak up and defend me and advocate for me that I know why this bill was, and it was passed, and I'm okay with it. I'm still being investigated because of the emails and an executive meeting that took place that I was verbally attacked by a staff member. Yeah.
And so you came out against the bill, right? You did not
Yes.
want the bill to pass. You think that city council should still have that power. Um,
Mhm.
And you say the reason that instigated that was that they wanted it to make it easier to remove you after
Mhm.
the incident happened. Is what happened that you reported the altercation that happened at that meeting, and now you're seeing some form of retaliation?
Yes. What I witnessed, a staff member's husband physically put his hand on a citizen. And when I witnessed that, I physically put my body between the gentleman and the young lady. And as survivors, this is our instinct. We do not stand by and watch a big man put his hands on a woman. We put our bodies between them. And that's what I did. That's what I did. You know, Vanessa, allow me to share. I'm a volunteer. And I feel that the investigation is like, you're so occupied in trying to silence this old Latina woman, but you're not investigating these officers because your hands are tied with them. But let's distract you and ignore the police, but let's go after one of your commissioners who's a volunteer. Let's do that. Let's see how crazy you can, but you can't because I stand my ground. And I know what I witnessed was wrong. It was wrong. No one can convince me it was wrong.
Is the issue that you reported that incident to, is it called the Inspector General?
Yep, the OIG. Yes.
And from there was an investigation of what you reported?
Yes.
Okay. And so they still haven't formally removed you yet, but this law did pass, making it easier to do so.
Yes. I'm okay. Yes.
What would you like to see happen as a result of this investigation, and how would you like to move forward as a commissioner?
I would like to stay on the next 2 years as commissioner, but I feel you have to let us do the job we were sworn to do for the community. Because if you don't, they'll never trust us. Not, it's bad enough that they don't trust the police department, but they will not trust us as commissioners. They're going to say, you're just a bunch of words. But I have to say to my community, and I've been all over the city. I'm in the Mayfair section in the 15th district. I am for the entire city. If you need me somewhere, I'm there. But let us do the job that we are supposed to do for the community, because they will never trust CPOC. And this is what I'm looking forward for them to do, but it's not up to me anymore. I need that support. We must support one another. And I'm hoping that Ms. McClary would be able to make a big difference. But right now, the Latino community does not, they don't know anything about CPOC. And at Kensington meeting, I shared with them, but I'm praying, let us do the job you sworn us to do.
Denise, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, now the bill did pass. It passed out of council.
Yes.
So it's officially, on the books. But this is yet another example of there being more of a focus on the internal politics than on what the work of the commission is supposed to do itself. And that's not why people voted, for the commission. So if you are removed from the commission, is that going, I mean, will that impact the work that you do overall, or, you know, are you still going to be out there, you know, telling people, look, you know, we need to be able to work together to make sure that everybody does what they're supposed to do?
If I am removed, I'm going to continue to do everything in my power to help the citizens in the city of Philadelphia. Before I became commissioner, I would be in the family court with survivors. I even got intimidated by the FOP attorney trying to get me thrown out of the courtroom, and I made it very clear to the judge that I was there to support the survivor. So I will continue as the activist, the mother, the grandmother, the daughter, to help the citizens in the city of Philadelphia. I made it very clear, I don't plan to run for office. I'm too old and too tired, but I will continue. If you need me at a meeting to help and support la comunidad, as we say, I'm there. In the 14th district, in Southwest Philly, in West Philly, I am there. I'm familiar with all parts of the city of Philadelphia, and I am there. So if they remove me, okay, but I will continue to help the community.
Now, how can the community itself advocate for the commission to come a little closer to its mandate? Because the citizens have got to have something to say about how things are going, and, you know, power concedes nothing without a demand.
Oh my God, Denise, thank you, because when I think of the election that is taking place now, we, the people, must speak up. We, the people, can say, no, we don't like the way you're doing it. We want you to allow the commissioners to do the job that they were sworn to do. You must allow them, stop blocking, as I would say. People would say, don't say blocking, say resistance. I have to say blocking because I feel like it's been blocking. You know, when you asked me to come on today, I was a little reluctant because I have been attacked by the media in the worst kind of way, and I didn't know where to put my face. But our communities must speak up for us. Let us do the job that we were sworn to do, and we need them to help us to get across, not only to the staff, but to city council, that we want to do everything to help the communities to work with the police department. And I sound like a broken record, but I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
Well,
You know,
thank you so much for that. We're going to have to leave it there. Rosada is also an award-winning book author. She published a book called Abuse Behind the Badge, which is available if you look for it online.
It's in Spanish. I wrote it in Spanish also.
And how can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Thread. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm always, you know, watching what my grandchildren are doing because I want them safe too. But they're wonderful children. And you can email me at rosalba.thomas@philly.gov. And please allow me to share that the young lady that I helped, she wasn't the only one that had reached out to me and asked me for help, and I was not able to help the other people also. I was not, but thank you. And you can, you know, just call me and, oh, I sound like that record. I'll be there.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us and for your service on the commission. If you're listening and you want to reach out directly to Rosada, she is still, as of now, a commissioner, and you can find more information about the Citizens Police Oversight Commission on the City of Philadelphia's website. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We would like to thank Rosada Torres for joining us, and Vanessa Maria Graber and Denise Clay-Murray for conducting an interview. And we have Denise with us right now. Denise, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Busy night here on the show, Denise, and a lot going on, and a lot to talk about. But how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Just trying to get into the summer swing. When we're not covering city council, I sometimes end up dabbling in national politics. So right now, I'm going to be looking at tomorrow's presidential debate for a
Yeah, me
couple
too.
of news organizations. But by the same token, I think that all Philadelphians really need to check out this debate because Pennsylvania is a swing state in the 2024 elections. And as the 5-county Philadelphia area goes, so goes the state generally.
Yeah.
So it might be a good idea for you to catch tomorrow's debate. Granted, it's going to be some nonsense on some level. You know that Donald Trump is probably going to get up there and continue the performance that he put on at Temple University over the weekend. We all know this. But as I've been telling people since 2016, if the former host of Celebrity Apprentice is running for president, you really need to know what he's going to do when he gets in office. Now, some of it's obvious, but you really need to hear it so that you know what to do or what not to do when you go in the voting booth.
Yeah. So we're going to talk more about that in the weeks to come because there's a lot happening with that, especially in the fall. But for right now, we're going to focus on something a little more local that impacts everybody in the city of Philadelphia, the impending water rate hike. And here is our own Lance Haver to tell us a little bit about that and what we can expect. All right, Lance Haver, there's a lot going on. There's always a lot going on. And we've been following this water rate hike case, I feel like the entire time we've been working together. What's going on with it now and where are we?
So this is the 4th consecutive year that the Water Rate Board, with the agreement of what they call the public advocate, which is the lawyer that they hire, have agreed to raise rates by 3 to 4 times the inflation rate. And like in all the past years, they do it in private. It's a virtual meeting, so people are unable to show up and protest. They're unable to show up and speak. And the vote is going to happen. But prior to the vote, the Water Rate Board didn't tell anyone what was going to be voted on. They did lists and say at the meeting, they're going to be voting on what they call an adjustment. But they didn't say what that adjustment was. They didn't say what the total size of the rate increase was going to be. And they didn't say why they were doing it. So they vote virtually, so no one can hold them accountable. They vote on something that people can't know about unless you've been watching Hall Monitor or reading Hall Monitor. You didn't know that people were facing a 12% rate increase. In the final, what I consider indignity is what they call the public advocate. Now, again, this is community legal services. For people my age, community legal services used to represent organizations and used to have a client group and used to be comprised of people who are very much in the community. Now, community legal services is being led. There are 4 executive officers, all corporate attorneys. The chairman of the board is a class action attorney who defends corporations against the class actions. It's someone who represents chief legal counsel for Chubb. It's chief legal counsel at another white collar firm. So they have no more client groups and they don't represent anyone other than themselves. So the public advocate was the last saving grace trying to represent people before the rate board. It used to be that the public advocate had client groups, met with community organization, tried to get involvement, but that has all changed because the rate board, and I don't want to say they're dumb and I don't want to say they're ignorant, but in a very sophisticated way, gives the public advocate's firm a contract that has 4 consecutive years of renewal possible. So the rate board refuses to hold hearings to find out what the public wants in the public advocate, and then holds the power of reappointing the public advocate every year for the next 4 years over their head like a swords of Damocles. The rate board hires the public advocate, controls what the public advocate does, tells the public advocate that if the rate board is unhappy with what the public advocate is doing, for example, appealing a decision, the rate board won't renew its contract for the next year. And that's where we are when we're looking at the fourth year. I just want to add, privatization of the water department is not a solution. When we look in the suburbs and we see that the publicly owned water utilities or sewers utilities have been privatized, rates skyrocket, 100, 150%. So that's not the solution. I also want to make clear that the water department isn't going to get every penny it wanted. That is absolutely true. And that's what the rate board and the public advocate like to say. Well, if it wasn't for us, it would be 2% higher. It wouldn't be a 12% increase, it would be a 14% increase. But the truth is, the water department over the last 50 years has never asked for what it wants. It's always asked for more than what it wants because it's a nice dance. It may be bad for us, but understand the dance. The water department asks for more than what it wants. They hold hearings. They get to give out a bunch of contracts, spend literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on experts who are very well connected to our politicians. And at the end of all that, they reduce the rate increase by 2% and they claim victory. But the water department never wanted 14%. They never needed 14%. Again, I may think that they're immoral or amoral, but I don't think that they're stupid. They know that if they get every penny they want, that the rate board and the rate board's advocate are going to be attacked. So they ask for more than what they want, get what they actually want, and everyone claims it to be a victory. The water department turns around and tells its bondholders, we got what we need is so that you all are going to get all of your money plus some. And the rate board says, well, we cut down the rate increase. And the public advocate says, well, we did our job, so you should keep funding us for years to come. During last year's rate increase, I was able to get the expert, the rate board's expert, to admit that he never had been part of a rate case where the utility expected to get everything they asked for. It's unheard of. Again, if you're running a multi-million dollar, $100 million, billion-dollar business, the chance that you're a moron is very small. Again, amoral maybe, corrupt maybe, but really ignorant, it's not likely. So these guys and women, not just men, it's men and women running these institutions, are very sophisticated in public relations. We'll ask for $500 million and we'll get $450 million and we'll kind of go, wow, we didn't get everything we wanted. And we'll let people claim victory for the 50 million. But if you look at their projections to the bondholders, if you look at what they actually told the bondholders, you'll see they told the bondholders they were only going to get 450. That was their expectation. That was their experience based on the past. And we know this because bondholders, the people who lend the money to build the infrastructure, have what are called covenants. They have agreements. And in those agreements, the water department agrees, or the utility, but in this case, we're talking about the water department. The water department agrees to pay the bondholders what the bondholders want, plus overcollect. And it's called a coverage ratio because the bondholders have so much power in this dynamic that they say to the water department, it's not enough for you to collect what you owe us. You have to collect what you owe us plus 0.2% more. So we can look at what the bond covenant is. The covenant's a fancy word for agreement. We can look at what the bond agreement is, and we can see how much the bondholders are expecting to get. And from that, we can look at what the water department actually expects to get in the way of a rate increase. And that's how we know that what they're not interested in getting what they asked for. They don't need what they asked for. There is a number below that they know they have to get. Otherwise, the bond counsel will say the water department's in what's called technical default, which gives the bond holders an opportunity to come in and grab all the money from the water department. So that's kind of where we are. The sadness, of course, is that our elected officials who own the water department, I can't say that at this point it's on the new mayor, because the new mayor has inherited this situation. But I can say that unlike with the SEPTA hearings, where we were very fortunate to have Majority Leader Catherine Gilmore Richardson show up, speak out, defend her constituents, we have absolutely nobody who does that for the water consumers. And in some ways, while SEPTA and the water department are somewhat similar, they both really impact the people who are experiencing poverty, or people who are a little bit above the poverty levels in our country, who are making $30,000, $35,000 a year and aren't defined as living a poverty life, so they don't qualify for any of the programs. But $150 or $200 rate increase a year, for many of them, is the difference between going out a couple nights a year for dinner with their families, or maybe squeaking by a summer vacation at the Jersey Shore, at Wildwood, or someplace else. You know, for $250, $300 is important. Again, not to the members of the rate board, who is the former water commissioner, the former chief legal counsel for the gas works, an investment banker, and a developer, and the former state consumer advocate. These are all people who are comfortable, and I don't mind that they made a good living. I'm not critical of that. I'm just saying that their experience with $150 or $200 a year, $25 or $30 a month, is very different than someone who's really struggling to keep their head above water, who can't get the help that they need. So while it's easy for the people who are on the rate board to ask me, well, why are you complaining? You know, it's only a 12% increase. You know, it's only going to raise people's bills by, $30 or $40 a month. I mean, that's okay. And of course, that's not. So again, I'm just going to hit on the high point. The rates go up. Unfortunately, nothing changes. And as long as the rates continue to go up, as long as the rate board captures the public advocate, you have to look at it from a systemic point of view. The city owns the water department. The water department, money they put in the bank, that interest goes directly to the city. The city gets to indirectly or directly hire the people who make political action contributions. Now, there is a law in the city that outlaws pay to play. But if you actually read that law, there are 12 exemptions to it. Lawyers are one of the exemptions. And all the law firms can give to a political action committee and be active in the political realm. So this is a tremendous opportunity for white collar patronage. So we don't always go on low bid, and it works very well. An example of that is US Bank holds the deposit. The $150 million in the surplus is held by US Bank, a bank that has no branches in the city. Now that money could easily be put in a credit union, which would give us mortgages, car loans, some small business loans, not a lot, but they have branches and they would hire local people. Instead, the well-connected US Bank gets to hold this money and pay almost no interest to the city. So those are really what we face, and it's a very difficult situation. There is nothing that will change it until it's disrupted. Now, this is an old adage for the business community. The business community always says, well, we have to disrupt the business to change it. Why would the water department stop doing what it's doing? If it was able to give contracts to its friends and give contracts to the well-connected, if the rate increases keep going through and they manage to hold virtual hearings so no one can show up and protest, and the city gets the benefit of all of this. Somebody has to step in and disrupt it, and I'm hoping at some point when the rates go up in September, some of the council people are going to look and say, well, why are we allowing this to happen? The water department hasn't had what's called a management audit in the last 25 years. They've not combined services with the gas works. They've done almost none of the things that could be done to keep costs down and to be more efficient. And again, if everything's working for them, why should they change? And I don't mean that in a horrible way. I just mean that in a realistic way. Almost all of us only change when something's not working. Businesses change their their products, they change their services, they change their prices, they change the way they operate when what they're doing isn't working. Almost everyone agrees with the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now, the water department, the owners of the water department are very happy. People who get the contracts from the water department are very happy. The people who are supposed to represent the public and get these no bid contracts renewed for 4 years, they're very happy. And the only people that aren't happy are the ratepayers, and the structure is such that the ratepayers have no power in this dynamic.
And that's like we said at the beginning of this, Lance, that's the same discussion we've been having for a while about this. It's hard to hear it, and hopefully our elected officials and other people in the city who can do something about this take notice and at least look into it. What should people do right now if they're concerned about their water bill going up?
The best thing at this point they can do is ask their council person, did you know the water rates are going up 12% in September? Can I get your help in looking at what's happening? Because the water department is going to ask for another rate increase next year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on a 2-year cycle. Every 2 years, they ask for what's called a base rate increase, and every year they ask what they call an adjustment. Now, adjustment's one of those tricky words, because what an adjustment means to us is we pay more. What an adjustment means to the rate board is, well, we're not raising rates, we're just adjusting them. I know from time to time when I make these reports that people don't think I have a sense of humor. And I don't about these things. They're not funny. It's really a burden. But I do have to smile when the rate board actually told me, this isn't a rate increase, you understand. This is a rate adjustment. And I tried to say, well, if I'm paying more, it's a rate increase. No, we're not increasing your bill. We're adjusting it. And
Adjusting it upward.
yes,
Okay.
which is different than a rate increase. And the other shame again is the public advocate's role here. It's almost, when I look back at when I came to Philadelphia to do activism in 1978, and I look at the heroic role that community legal services played in representing community groups and advocacy groups and low-income people and their client groups and the direction they gave, and I look at what they're doing now, I am heartbroken. Chris Hedges, the former reporter for the New York Times, wrote a book called The Death of the Liberal Class. And he tries to tell people about how most of those institutions that were developed in the 60s and 70s and even early 80s have fallen apart and aren't there anymore. And community legal services is a prime example of that. Here's a poor people's law firm that's led by corporate lawyers that has no client groups, that is beholden not to the public. They refuse to actually meet with the public. Their idea of public engagement is to send out an email. And just to further the injury, 9 people showed up to testify at the last round of hearings. 9 people out of 1.7 million. Now, I don't know who thinks that that's a good showing, but I do know the public advocate thinks it's a good showing. I do know the rate board says there's no reason to hold public hearings. We can do it virtually because look at the wonderful turnout we had. 9 people came. And I say 9 people out of 1.7 million is an embarrassment. And they say, well, that's much better than we've ever done. Now, again, I know that's not true because I've been at hearings where there've been hundreds of people showing up, people struggling to pay bills. And the rate board also just outright prevaricates and says they're not the only adjudicatory body that meets virtually. They say the Zoning Board of Adjustment does. And the truth is the Zoning Board of Adjustment doesn't. SEPTA doesn't. City Council doesn't. PICA doesn't. Nobody is meeting virtually. Almost everyone has some ability to allow virtual participation, but every one of these bodies is now meeting in person. The school board, SEPTA, City Council, PICA board, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, the Public Utility Commission. The only people who are hiding from the public in the virtual world is the Philadelphia Water and Rate Board.
Has anyone noticed an increase in people having their water shut off as a result of these hikes?
Well, we know that that's happening, but during COVID, there were no turnoffs. And the data at this point is really very difficult to figure out whether these are shutoffs because during COVID, people didn't pay, or these are shutoffs as a result of the higher rates. One of the things that ends up happening is if for people who are struggling, they pay they feed the wolf at the door. So if people who are struggling understandably pay whatever bill it is that they have to pay first. And so during a moratorium on shutoffs, people who don't have enough to go around look at what bill doesn't have to be paid and don't pay it. Then when the moratorium ends, sometimes they end up with bills that are so large they can't catch up. So we won't know for another year the answer to your question. And unfortunately, I don't believe the water department's going to ask. We're going to have to rely on the School of Public Health at Drexel University, which does a phenomenal job of following these issues to try and sort out how many of the increased shutoffs came as a result of people who didn't have enough, not paying the water bill when they didn't have to, and now when they have to pay the water bill, not having an ability to do so. That is a realistic struggle. How long do we give people where they don't have to pay before we put people into a trap where they can't catch up? So there has to be some balancing act where we help people pay and we don't tell people don't pay at all and then say, okay, now you have to pay it all or you're going to get shut off. Because if I don't have enough to pay, I certainly don't have enough to pay $1,000 to catch up. It's oxymoronic to think somebody doesn't have enough money to pay the bills, but they have an extra $1,000.
Yeah.
So I do think you're right. I think it's the type of thing that we have to look at. And it is a really significant problem. As we've talked about here, poverty in the city is a tremendous problem. There is a good program at the water department for people who are struggling economically called TAP. I hope everyone who's struggling signs up for it. The difficulty is who pays for the shortfall. The water department and the public advocate want regular ratepayers to pay for poverty, to pay for those experiencing low income. It would almost be like they would be supporting a tax on food to pay for people who use SNAP. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me to overburden people who just have their head above waters to take care of the people who are sinking. But that is their thought. The city has a huge surplus right now. The state has an even bigger surplus. It would be easy for the water department to go after those surpluses to cover the costs of the low income plan. But the easier course for them is simply to raise rates on the rest of us because no one's paying attention. No one in government's paying attention. And sadly, the Inquirer and KYW and the television news aren't covering these stories. We're grateful for everyone who watches us and reads us, but we acknowledge that while we're reaching 20,000 families a week, there are 1.7 million people in the city of Philadelphia. And while 20,000 makes us the most well-resourced, well-read, independent news group in the city, it is still far short of the outreach that's necessary to make these fundamental changes.
Well, Lance, thank you so much for that report. As always, we're going to be staying on top of this throughout the summer and into the fall. Oh, well, we're just going to stay on top of it. There's no end date for this.
Unfortunately, it doesn't end. Thank you both very much. And again, thank you for all the coverage. That interview you did on Juneteenth, that was a phenomenal show. That was just great. I was really thrilled to hear those domestic workers. I hope we're going to have them back soon.
We are. They're going to be on soon.
Great.
All right. Thanks so much, Lance.
Take care.
All right. We'd like to thank our own Lance Haber for keeping us updated on what's going on with the water department. This is the story that never ends, Denise. We've been talking about this since we started, and we're going to keep talking about it. So, but Denise, there's something I want to bring up here. You're not going to believe this. Where were you last night, Denise? Let me start off with that.
Oh, I was at the Philadelphia Inquirer building along with a whole other group of people that were part of the Every Voice, Every Vote initiative through the Lenfest Foundation. And Larry and Lance and I and Allison, who does our social media, we were there as part of, we have been given another grant from the Lenfest Foundation to continue what we do here at Hall Monitor as part of Every Voice, Every Vote.
And we're going to have more announcements about that as we go forward, as we roll some things out this summer that will really get rolling, I think, in the fall.
Yes.
But we're starting now. And just to give people a little snapshot, we really want to do more in the community. We do a lot with City Hall, we do a lot with politics, but working with community groups is one of our key goals. And now we have the opportunity to do it. And one of the other really important factors in doing this is Vanessa, because this is one of the areas where I think she's going to be focusing on as well with us. So it really was a perfect opportunity to really do more of this work that we really want to keep doing. And we're very excited about it, and we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, if you all liked the reports that we did from the Juneteenth celebration, we're going to be doing more of that. Going to community festivals, going out to places where people are hanging out to find out, what brings them to these particular events, and also what you want to see from your city government. What is it doing right? What is it not doing right? What would you, what's important to you? Like, for example, you want to see your water rates go down, or you want to see your gas rates go down, or you want to see City Hall and your city government be a little more, I guess, amenable to you, or at the very least, not make it hard for you to live in the poorest big city in America. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to be out, getting. We want to bring more of you into Philadelphia Hall Monitor. So now we have the means to do it.
Yep. And so this is going to be a big step for us. We're very excited to do it. We've wanted to do some of these projects we're going to be rolling out for a very long time. And we intend to. And we think we're still going to do all the things we always do. We're still going to be at City Council. We're still going to do all those things. But this is added value that we're going to be providing. And we're really looking forward to doing it. And we think it's going to make a more dynamic news site for everybody. And that's what we want. We want more interaction with the people who watch us and read our newsletters and see our clips. Tell us what you want to know, what you think we should be looking into. We already have people who do that, and we found things and covered stories because people said, hey, you should look at this, and we do it. And we want to keep doing that. And this is another way to do it, and another way to be with you where you are, to hear about what you think needs to change and what questions you have for your officials. We're going to take it right to them. So this is going to be great, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about the prospect of, also doing some stuff with Philadelphians to get them to understand just how important their vote is. Because I don't think sometimes that Philadelphians understand just how important their vote is, not just in the national election, but also here locally. And also, we want to help you to better understand what you should expect from the second floor of City Hall and what is strictly the purview of the fourth floor, because those are two different floors.
And that's a big passion of yours, Denise.
Yes. I want people to understand how government works, because it is only through understanding how government works that you can get it to work for you. If I had a nickel for every conversation I've had with somebody who has told me that they would like to see council do something that is uniquely the purview of the mayor and vice versa, we'd already been out in the community because we'd have had tons and tons of money.
Right.
But what I'm hoping, among the things I'm hoping that we're able to do with this grant, is to help you better understand your government so you can understand how it works and how you can make it work for you.
All right. Well, everybody's looking forward to this. It's going to be a great project. We're going to enjoy it. But we have to go now. So we'll be back next week on Hall Monitor.